Hey guys, Justin here. Quick note, yes, this video is meant to be on Maconi Setup Shop's channel. I don't like to flood my main channel with too many guides, so this is going to be just the same type of video. Actually, I did a little bit differently and you'll see it here in a second, but this is kind of a one-time thing because I got everything all together in one place. Alright, so this is a little bit different than my normal ARCA videos because I just did a race and I got a good qualifying lap in it. We had a good long run race where we kind of learned a lot. So I think I'm just going to do it all in here. So this is out lap. Alright, so that's a 23:21, so let's take a look at that. So if you watched my farmer's guide, all the channel members, thanks for being a channel member, one tiny tweak that I made from the farmer's guide to this is I moved my line in 1 and 2 about half a lane up, and I'll show you why in a bit here. So as we get into turn 1, let's slow it down a little bit and I can kind of talk our way through it. I want to be just about right where that dark part starts getting darker. So why I do this by getting to the bottom by having a couple stages. Stage 1, as you can see here, is I go to half throttle. And then once I start turning down the track, I go fully out of the throttle and onto a brake drag. And now once I hit my line, and my line again is about maybe half or maybe even a third of a lane up, once I get to that predetermined line that I want to hit, I get back to partial throttle. And that partial throttle is about 50%, and then I slowly raise it. And then I try to get full throttle as I am unturning the wheel. So you can see from right here, my car is super turned to the left, my steering wheel. You can't even see the orange tape. And then by the time I get full throttle, I correlate that with turning it back to the center. So it's still turned, but it's not turned as much as it once was. And that's how I know I can time the full throttle. And that allows me to drive kind of straight up off the corner. Okay, so let's take a look at that one more time in slow motion. So turn in, brake, back to partial throttle, hold it, let the car rotate down on its own, barely start creeping up, and then once I start turning back the wheel, I go full throttle, and then I just drive it straight up the track. Okay. Second lap here, or sorry, turns 3 and 4. Same idea, pretty much the same idea. Half throttle, so see the same exact thing. Half throttle down to brake drag, and then I pick up the throttle a little bit earlier in 3 and 4, but because I do that, I'm holding even less of a partial throttle. So instead of starting at half, I am now starting at about 25%. This is the big difference between 1 and 2, because I want to be farther towards the bottom in 3 and 4, just because that's kind of how the grip works. That's where the car wants to go, in my opinion. So I hold it at the bottom, where I have to hold a smaller partial throttle, but then I still bring it up gradually, and then when I start straightening out the wheel, that's when I go full throttle. And then I can drive straight up off the corner. So do not go from half throttle to full throttle. This last bit is done very gradually, and then with like the last maybe 20% done all at once. But that little bit from the 50% or even the 40%, that's done a lot more gradually. Okay, we'll take a look at that one more time uninterrupted. So half throttle to brake, back onto half throttle, raise it very carefully, try to turn it back down the hill a little bit. So you see here, even though I'm pretty close to the bottom, I still turn it back down the hill just a tiny bit, just to try to straighten my exit out that much more. And it's all about finding the limit of grip in all those situations. We'll take a lot of practice. This is a different rhythm than a lot of laps, but as you can see, that last little bit of turn in to straighten out the corner is important in both 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, now let's talk about the race. So, race was interesting. I burned a little more tire than I should have, 5470, and I'll tell you where I burned that right front. Larry finished about 10% more on the right front than I did, and I can definitely show you where that happened, but we'll see here that by like lap 2, we have tire burners coming, and when a tire burner is coming, it's just not worth it to defend at the very beginning. So I just let him go, and he's just tire burning his way all up to the front. You see, you can tell that he's tire burning because his diamond is very, very unexaggerated. Like, he's pretty much running qual laps right now, just kind of not even thinking about a diamond. Whereas if we watch Larry out in front go a couple laps forward, even though he's defending him, he's still making a diamond. So he goes up, then back down. So you see he has a first apex. He gets off the grass. I think that's where I'm losing it. I think I don't get on the brakes quite as early as he does. And I think that's allowing him to have a little less right front tire wear on the turn back down. So compare that to what I'm doing right here. So you see how I have to use a little bit too much wheel to turn it back down. I think that there's two things there. What I wasn't doing quite as well was getting a wide entry. So I was getting a little too shallow. And then I wasn't slowing down quite enough. And so the times are equal here. The wear is marginally worse for me. Still not nearly as bad as the tire burner, who's just not even diamonding his corners off. And the reason you want to diamond those corners is just because you want to be able to minimize the wear on the right front, so you want to do your turning when your car's the slowest. Very similar to IRP. And it really matters on high banked fast tracks like this, even if there's not much speed difference, just because of how dramatic the tire wear is. So sometimes I do hit my corners better, and like this was a very good corner for me. It's just I wasn't entirely consistent on the execution. So that was a good tire saving corner. But like I was struggling a little bit in 1 and 2. Actually, this looks pretty darn good. I think I throttled a tiny bit early there. You can tell that you're throttling early if you gas up and the car is not turning back down the hill. So I should have waited a little longer before getting back fully in the gas. Or not fully, but like at least at the high partial. So we can see that kind of had a result at the end. The tire burner's long gone, by the way, but I was falling off the back by about 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds by the end. Just because my car didn't want to turn as much mid-corner because of the right front wear. Whereas we watch Larry here. He's diving in a little bit deeper now, using a little more brake, and that's allowing him to keep up his lap times relatively late run without using as much tire wear. So that's something I'm going to be looking forward to next race, is to try to dive my corners a little deeper while still hitting the bottom and while using a lot more brake, and that looks like it'll be good on the tires relatively, allow him to finish a lot more even tire wear. But he's definitely a lot more patient back in the throttle, which I need to work on. And that's always an issue of mine, is just wanting to get back on the throttle too quickly. So take it as a cautionary tale from me. If you think that you're getting back in the gas even a little bit too early, just take it easy. Bring your throttle point a lot later, and you'll thank yourself later in the race. All right. Thank you all for watching. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and I'll check periodically to see if I can answer them. All right. Hope you all have a wonderful day. I hope to see you all on the track.